Wake up, buy here, pay here people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here, Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Hey,
where are we?
We're right here. Okay, there we are.
Nice.
See? Hi.
Hey, welcome everyone.
Welcome everybody.
Happy Wednesday. I'm still over here making notes about today's topic. A lot of
you should see all the sticky
stuff.
notes everywhere. Yeah, it's pretty impressive, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
okay.
It is.
Well, I just had some interesting stuff I wanted to make sure we got brought to this subject because it's an important subject, and we got a lot of things to kind of share as kind of updates and announcements first.
Well,
you want to go
I was
first?
going to say announcements. Do you want to talk about Group 3 meeting last night? Oh yeah,
last night's Group 3 meeting. That's the what we're calling the newcomer group, and
for V8.
Yep.
Dealer
and
groups.
So we have 4 dealers in the group, but only 3 could attend last night, and wow, it was just so good. I mean,
even just with that many,
I'm just having so much fun with those. And the dealers, we just had, in particular, I had one aha moment where, this dealer who's really new, we were able to share, the results from this particular group and their own data, and then we shared group averages from the other group, and it just, we had an aha moment where he's like, that's their average selling price. And I'm like, yeah, this is exactly why this thing is important. Like, people need to be able to get out and see how the rest of the world does business. Especially if they're not really
tapped into a lot of the other other things. Yep. It's a good, I mean, because where do you find that information? And it's it's going to the national conferences and being involved in a 20 group, and that's just not something everybody can do.
Yeah, so, and it doesn't mean you see the numbers and you run back to your dealership and change your business model tomorrow. It's just that there's more data, there's more opportunity to learn from other people, why those numbers look the way they do, and how I could make judgments about improving my own business or shifting to what is working.
So go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's just kind of the thing about not reinventing the wheel. Why go out there and reinvent the thing when people have been out there doing it for decades?
And just so y'all know that we're just going to add as many groups as there is interest. So just let us know. Another thing is the dealers only, the principal dealers only Facebook group is continuing to grow. There are some of you that have invitations sitting in your mailbox. We did schedule a virtual happy hour for that group, and that'll be kind of fun.
I think we decided on Tuesday the 6th. So the invitation is inside that group, and we still have, I think you said, about 90 people that are
just
waiting to come into the group, and so they're kind of in this limbo, and so we got to get their questionnaire completed.
See if you got something from me.
Yeah.
And then what else we got? Group 1, which is I'm sorry, we're still V8. Group 1 is meeting. Has one spot, and that they're meeting the 8th.
Yeah. So they're meeting on the first Thursday or second Thursday. Yeah. So that'd be the 8th, and we got one spot left in there.
What else?
I think that's it really for announcements.
The dealer roundup coming up February 15th.
Right.
We've been just discussing how we've delivered in the past, how we want to deliver it this time, and so invitations or sponsorship ad packages went out a couple of weeks ago, and we're just trying to figure out how we want to be able to get the information in front of as many eyeballs as possible, as well as being able to have some, we talk about what you can't measure, you can't really, you don't really know. So how we measure that. And
we got ourselves busy. I mean, obviously I took on this V8 thing in January, but now we're up against the deadline. We've got to finalize the agenda and get the word out. You'll hear plenty about it in the next couple of weeks.
If you go to Buy Here, Pay Here Nation Television, BuyHerePayHereNationTV.com is.
I think you mean BHPH Nation TV.
Sorry, BHPH. BHPHNationTV.com. And then you look at upcoming things. It shows that, and also the subject for the first White Hat Way fireside chat, which is going to be kind of like an casual evening webinar series.
Yeah.
So
all good stuff. But we'll get you the final agenda, and we got people that are going to be panelists and co-moderators and tons of stuff happening now. So
where do you want to start?
I want to start with our September of 2022.
Okay, so I'm going to throw this right on up there. Add this to the
save. So just to kind of tie it all together, back in September of 2022, looks like we were still doing, we weren't quite in video yet. It was an audio podcast, but that subject was, where is your company's DMS data stored, and who holds the keys? So we had a lot of,
that was a long time ago. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was a while ago.
And let me just kind of, I've got a bit of an update on that. So for those of you who, we're going to share the link, and for those of you who want to go back and hear that conversation, then we want to be able to give you an update on that. At the time that we brought that subject, we had been hearing from some folks that there were some DMS providers in the space who were not releasing data when a dealer moved to a new DMS. And so that was troubling. The way we heard it was troubling. I can tell you that since then, I think what we've been able to verify is that it wasn't that the dealer or that the DMS provider was holding data hostage, but they were only prepared to import or export real-time data, meaning notes receivable balances, current customer balances, customer information,
but not history.
Inventory, not history. So not transaction history in particular. And so that's a very different thing. It's still a problem. It's still something to be aware of. If I'm a dealer and I have a bunch of history of transactions in one DMS and I move to a new
problem.
One, now I have to pay for 2 DMSs
if I want to have access to
my old data. So it's a problem. Let's be aware, but it's a different problem than what we thought at the time we recorded that particular podcast. But I would just say, it kind of ties in, like this has been a subject for us for some time about who owns the data. And of course, now here we are stepping into these V8 dealer groups. Dealers are entrusting us with data. They submit their data and they're entrusting us with that. And so in the whole context of White Hat Way, I would also say that, we sent an email yesterday, right, to somebody we're working with. We've got a provider that's a tech provider, data analytics provider, and we sent an email yesterday, and in the interest of transparency, we copied our founding sponsors and made sure they understood kind of the white hat context of all this, because as we start working with a new provider, we wanted to make sure that they understood. First of all, we sent them a copy of our Appendix W. So another subject, you can find that on YouTube, although I had a little trouble finding it myself.
A lot of the Appendix W information is on whitehatway.com.
True.
Where it's just like all of the lists of transparency and trust and honesty and kindness and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Let's be careful about the way, like, this is about you, dealers. This is not about Jim and Michelle. This is about the data that you own. Our subject today was what's the value?
Do you
of
own it? One.
Yeah.
And then the data that is yours for your dealership.
How and where will it be used? Like, who's going to have access? What are they going to do with it? And so obviously for us, we're in the process now of working through with our dealer members how they want the data to be used. Go ahead. Yeah, let's talk about it.
We're going to show something, and some of you may have seen it, but when we saw it, we were like, this is pretty awesome. So let me
enlarge that a bit, but this is something you're seeing it's running on a lot of the football games, it's on TV.
Let me do this right here too. And we're
If AI is the Wild West, does that make data the new gold? Huh.
The logo and the Salesforce. We just say that this is Salesforce. This is their commercial. So it's on YouTube, so we're there's no copyright.
I don't know if all have seen that. I'm kind of looking forward to Squirrel.
Yeah, and we featured one of those in a prior episode too, where they were talking about if AI is the Wild West, who's the sheriff around here, right? And so it's all part of the same context for us, and it's part of the reason that we brought this subject on a White Hat Wednesday is because we see that White Hat Way, and however you visualize that now, we feel like White Hat Way can be a voice on behalf of dealers and their data. So it's like, if data is gold and we have a gold
it
rush,
is, yeah.
So how do we know that people are playing nice in that sandbox? How do we know that people aren't running off with our sensitive data and profiteering from it or whatever else? Like, there's something to be aware of. And I realize people hear that coming out of my mouth, and we're over here doing a V8 group. Obviously, we're delivering value, and we're being very careful to be good stewards of that data, which takes me back to the email we sent yesterday. Send an email to the provider, attached a copy of our Appendix W, and said, it's important for us to understand early in this development, like they're preparing a proposal. Like as they prepare the proposal, it's very important that you understand every agreement that we've signed with a dealer in the V8 group bears our signature on Appendix W. So those of you who haven't seen Appendix W, you can find that, but it's like, it basically says we're working to be good stewards. We're committed to be good stewards of all the stuff, certainly our relationship, privacy, where you're concerned, privacy, where your data is concerned. And so it's just part of a larger conversation, and we're not alone. It's not, we have a small amount of data compared to what some of the providers out there would have. Right.
And there are some that absolutely have been good stewards of that data. And some that don't realize that they're not being as transparent as they could possibly be.
Sure.
And, I don't think that we've seen anyone that is using data in nefarious ways. But we certainly are not seeing transparency.
Yeah. And I think that's what dealers can see where we're involved in managing data. You're going to see us show transparency of data, not compromising privacy. There's a line there. Like
there's a difference between transparency and in our eyes of that. And
so this is part of what you're going to see us working on, and this is what White Hat Way is part of what it represents is, somebody's got to be protective, of the sensitive data. And then there comes the question of what are we doing with the data? Like for me, in the description of the show today, I talked about beneficial use. Like, what are we doing with the data? Like if I'm a dealer, let me just be a dealer for a minute. If I have my data, I'm in a B8 group or I'm in a 20 group or wherever else. It's like I submit my data. Now somebody else has temporary possession at least of my data. What are they then going to do with that? Hopefully they're going to turn around and give me some value, right? For me personally. But then I would hope that there would be a solution, a means to be able to create value for others who, in fairness, they, doesn't make a lot of sense for me to pay to play and be a part of the thing. And now everybody else gets access to the information. They don't get access to all the information, certainly not in the structure that we would propose. But it is a question of how do we utilize all of this gold that is data for the benefit of dealers and hopefully consumers. Like I think it's naturally going to extend to consumers as we learn how to optimize, and certainly artificial intelligence is part of this. How do we optimize for the benefit of the dealer? As if we think mostly for a moment just about the transaction between the dealer and the consumer, which is an ongoing series of transactions, an ongoing relationship. How can data help us improve that relationship? And so that's where I'm saying that this is where we have an interest in helping dealers optimize that relationship with their customer. And so that there's all kinds of ways that will start to manifest in terms of data.
And, if anything, if really what we're trying to get across ultimately to everyone out there, vendors, dealers, whatever, is to understand the value of that data.
Sure.
That there is a lot of value in that data. And that's why, the Salesforce thing is like, is that the new gold?
Sure.
And it's a gold rush and all of that. It's who has access to the data, and just, we know that, you search something on Google and then all of a sudden you're because they're that's a data point that all of a sudden all of a sudden you're seeing ads in your search bar for pontoon boats because
that's where you were going to go.
which was it's a little funny thing we did when we lived in Florida. But that you see that all of a sudden you're getting information about the things that you've been researching or whatever, because there are data points that are being collected.
Sure.
Now, the next question is are the organizations that are collecting the data, are they being good stewards of the data? And
are they creating any beneficial use?
And then the next thing is, are they creating is it something they are holding close to their chest,
so they can monitor,
so that they can take your data and earn a lot of money out of it? Or are they using it to help benefit you and their customers through the data, but that it's something that we're trying to improve the industry and making products or whatever that make that really valuable data available to the industry at large.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. It's like, and in a way that nobody's confidentiality is compromised.
Yeah, because there's got to be a way. And it's not that we're asking that everything get out there for free.
No.
It's that there's got to be a way that we can access the consumer, because it's all that's White Hat Way is about the relationship between consumer and business.
Yeah.
And in this instance, the consumer is the dealer and the business are the vendors that hold the data.
Yeah, that's the first relationship we think of. But in reality, the White Hat Way element extends to the relationship between dealers and their vendor partners,
yes.
And all those relationships across this industry and other industries ultimately. But it's like, if we think about this part that you're talking about, like, what are we going to do with the data? And so here's the harsh reality. It costs money to sweep and produce and present and filter and, do all run the intelligence on all this raw data. So it costs money. You can't probably have it for free. So
that's why I'm saying is, to say that it's for free, probably not, because
some pieces can be available for free. It's like, but we basically
are really high level pieces. Yeah.
And so I think this is for us part of what transparency looks like. We've been saying to all of our V8 dealers, like, this is a new process. We're going to beg your patience. In the meantime, we can assure you that we're going to be protective of this data, and we're going to make sure that, as we work with partners on the data, that we're able to make sure that the integrity of the data is preserved, that the confidentiality is preserved. And then ultimately we will come back to our dealers and say, of this data, how much are you prepared to release to the larger industry? We won't be releasing any of it without their consent, but it's like, our data pool at this point is small. We look forward to working in cooperation with others, and we are already working with others who have larger, substantial amounts of
data pools.
So we want to be able to use it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like I think about Brent Carmichael, and whenever we say, "Hey, got a question for you," he just pulls stuff out of a data pool without saying, the dealer name or the anything, but it's just like aggregate data on specific points that he's just so willing to share. And I'm like, okay, how do we figure out how to make that more accessible? And I know that there are some things that NCM does, but as we navigate this, how are we collecting? How are we preserving? How are we acting as the sheriff of that as we grow? Because just to let you all know that we have V8 groups was something that was conceptualized years ago. And there are things that are above and beyond V8 groups that just make it more accessible for dealers to get some information, and that they're still in conceptual stage, but this is the first step towards being able to really create a ecosphere, a place where dealers can access really helpful data.
Yeah. And I think the data person in me, I'll just give you a quick example. If you're a numbers person and you work with spreadsheets, if you find one element in your spreadsheet that is inaccurate or a link that's broken, it'll cause you to lose confidence in everything you're looking at, because on those spreadsheets, a lot of things are linked together.
Yeah.
So one of the big things that we're making sure to implement in our structure here at the beginning as we work with data is how to do it in a way that dealers can have high confidence in what they're seeing. And then the other opportunity that's presented here, and look, we're certainly as a provider, if you will, we're way behind in terms of size of data pools, and we look forward to working with others to be able to access the data pool. Because look, I first stepped into the buy here, pay here business in '97. I'm old, right? So I've been around a while. But here's my thing: as a numbers nerd, it frustrates me on behalf of dealers. Like, I'm frustrated on behalf of our dealer clients and dealers that we know that all these years later, all this data, we still can't tell a dealer, here's the optimum loan structure. We can't tell a dealer.
We should be able to say that. And we should be able to not have to have dealers step into big subscriptions for other software or whatever to be able to get access to information that's going to help the dealer and the industry in general.
So I'm talking about the kind of graphs that show dealers on a single page. Here's optimum loan structure. Like, you just look at simple deal structure, term of loan, down payment. And there are some providers out there that are pulling some data together. It's just my question is, are they going to be transparent? Is there going to be any beneficial use from all that data they're capturing? And I just speaking for me personally, not even for White Hat Wade, as a numbers nerd, I'm going to be working to make sure that the data that we pull together is able to provide some beneficial good to dealers. Because if you just think about it in the simplest form, when we can get to a place where that whole thing that we talk about, friction between dealer and customer, sometimes that's, ineffective deal structure, right? Sometimes it's caused by that, which is a problem for both the dealer and the consumer. So when we all work together and we create something that helps dealers and consumers create a better, more successful loan structure, you're talking about more successful dealers and more successful customers. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a scenario where dealers are more successful and customers are more successful in that whole business relationship? And so this is what data can do for us. This is what artificial intelligence can do for us. And I'll go ahead and share. I don't think we've said it, Michelle, but we don't currently have a website for this, but just know
we have a URL.
We have the domain, and this is not insignificant. Like, we grabbed the domain that is whitehatway.ai. Okay, so artificial intelligence is going to allow us to sweep data in new ways. It's going to help us to do all kinds of things that can be done for the benefit of all involved. It can be done for the benefit. It can be done for the sake of profiteering and taking advantage. So,
which is, again, that's something that we sign with every interaction, with contractual kind of interaction with dealers and vendors alike, is the Appendix W.
Yeah. And so it's like going back to the Salesforce thing, the one that we featured before, and this is not, we didn't create this, but we both were just thrilled to see the commercials on TV that Salesforce did before about, well, if data's the Wild West, who's the sheriff around here? And now the newest one is, if data's gold, right? What was the final?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but it's basically, if data is gold, then who's going to have it, right? But it's fine. I think it's the premise that, and Salesforce, by the way, doesn't answer the question. They just pose the question
and leave it for you to figure out.
Leave it for all of us to figure out. Like, we got to figure this out together. AI is a machine that is either going to be working on our behalf, or it's going to be working against some of us,
or it's going to be working for others.
Yeah.
Without us having access to the benefit of it.
And what are the intentions of those folks? So I think today's partly about stating intentions, right? It's making sure that we're clear about this is what White Hat Way looks like for us. And it's, you can hear in that there, I don't think you heard much that's about Jim and Michelle. It's about what can be done to make certain that the intentions are revealed, that they're reaffirmed, that they're transparent, and that we're able to then start to do some real good with all this gold that is data. We spend that wisely, not us. It's like as a collective, as an industry, when we leverage that value in a smart way, then a lot of good can be done. So again, it's mostly about intention. It's about it's about transparency. And I think back to the thing about truth, about trust, is like part of how you earn trust is being transparent, not just today, but tomorrow and the day after that.
If you're interested about this truth about trust thing, that we did an article that was published in the Texas Independent Automobile Dealers Association,
Texas Dealer Magazine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of words there.
It came out in January.
It came out in January. It's also on our website as under the blog section.
Yeah. So
but
all
just
all this stuff ties together.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of where we live. It's where intention and transparency and all these squiggly lines start to intersect with the straight lines of data management.
Yeah. And I think that it's important to just iterate, and it is kind of a reiteration, but iterate that everything that, like Jim said, this isn't about Jim and Michelle.
Okay.
That everything that we have created and that we will create is not about Jim and Michelle. It's about how do we help the dealers?
Right.
How do we help dealers get a good education?
Yeah.
How do we help dealers be able to look at data differently? How do we help dealers to be able to connect and compare with other dealers? How do we help dealers? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so it's about how do we help dealers? And so, for me, I'm pretty proud of the things that we've been able to create. And
really great stuff.
And so
we're just getting started.
We're
over here bootstrapping and just kind of figuring it out, and we're enjoying it. Obviously there are days that are more difficult than others, and here we are 2 weeks away from our dealer roundup, which is going to be 3 dealer panels, and you guys don't know much about it because it's not finalized, but we're going to get there, and you're going to see it's going to be tremendous value when we get it out there. But just in the meantime, we beg your patience because we're over here taking on a handful of things, and as a result, we are burning some midnight oil once in a while. But it's all good. We're totally loving what we're doing, and it's coming from a place of trying to do some good for our industry, and so
and being able to get stuff to dealers. It's just it's being able to make it easily accessible, and if there's a cost associated with it, that it's easy to, it's not a huge cost associated with it.
Of course, people hear me talk about it. There's a heart matter too. Like I have a heart for this customer that the dealers serve and buy here, pay here. Right.
Yes.
So it can all serve the ultimate mission. So
before we go, I wanted to, we were talking about Dealer Roundup which is coming up, on February 15th. And if you look on the tab for upcoming events.
Are you intending to show your screen?
I can actually. Let me do this, and we're going to do share screen, and right here. Let's see. And I need
while you're doing that, I got to remember, we got to go find the photo of my dad where my brother is holding up the corner of his mouth to make him smile.
Just never smiles.
When I see myself, I look like my dad and his grumpy face, and I don't mean to look grumpy.
So on buyourpayrnation.television.com, under the upcoming events tab, we have the live stream event. The sessions will be inventory pipeline, sustainable growth, and boosting buyer payer lease here, payer, sales volume.
Right.
Those are the subjects.
Mhm.
And then we also have, for our White Hat Way fireside chats, we have the topic determined. It's retaining and motivating talented team members.
Mhm.
And so we're looking forward to that. That's going to be more of just a chat kind of thing.
That's late March. I hope we're broadcasting that live stream event from a beach somewhere.
Oh,
So
I don't get me started.
Should have brought that one up, yeah.
Because I wore one of my beach colored shirts today, and I woke up feeling about how much I would appreciate being warm right now and being somewhere where it was beach breeze, seagulls, sand.
So quick thing, and then we can wrap up. I also think the state of Utah really owes us a little something, because we bought a snowblower. I've never owned a snowblower in my life. I never lived in, and we got it all assembled, and it has not snowed since.
It has not snowed since. We've turned it on a couple of times just to listen to it. And showed like our son-in-law, who's the engineer, that when they were watching football, to have come out and listen to it, because both our son-in-law and our daughter they're super environmentally conscious, and so this snowblower is a pretty beefy battery operated snowblower.
Yeah, we'll see if it works. So, but I think we just know it's like washing your car. We did at least our neighborhood, that our skiing friends won't be happy with us.
That's this,
right?
You're welcome, Utah, that we bought the snowblower, because the snow has stopped, and it's been like spring for the last couple of weeks. So
anyway, all good. We should wrap up and let folks get back to their business.
Hey, everybody. Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
Joining our conversation, indulging us a little bit as we're working on your behalf. We're just out there trying to make sure we figure these things out, and we welcome your participation as we do so.
And just so you know, we for some of you that we had reached out to, we were going to be doing a special broadcast today that we are pushing out for a couple of weeks, and it is one of our own. We were going to do a special tribute to, and that's coming up. So those of you who are waiting and watching, we just had to postpone it a little bit. All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks
Happy
for tuning
Wednesday.
in.
Bye.
See you Friday.